views and opinions expressed by the host of this show are his and his alone. They do not reflect those of this network, his employer, any of the universities he attended, his family and friends, or former roommates, any of the 5 Temptations, the 4 Tops, or any number of the Pips. They may or may not reflect those of the other voices in his head. His dog, however, agrees with him 100%. And now, broadcasting from Venture X Studios in Frisco, Texas, it's the Snarky Parenthetical. Here's your host. He's highly caffeinated and mildly irritated. Here's Lathan Watts.
All right, welcome to the Snarky Parenthetical. Thank you all for joining us again here end of the week. Hopefully we start your weekend out with something to think about, maybe something to chuckle about. Got some good response from the news stories that we covered in last week's episode, the big, important, serious news that we covered. So
That's right.
We'll just jump right into that again for this week. I want to start with another Hat Tip News Week. Last week we had from Newsweek, the man versus bear in his underwear. Which actually I said that wrong. Like the bear's was not in underwear, nor was he in the man's underwear. It was man in underwear versus bear. Okay, just to clarify that.
Important clarification.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Although pretty humorous, imagining
either way
other scenarios. Yeah.
Either way. I mean, if the bear was in underwear, that's a whole other story.
That's
right?
a whole nother pickle.
Yeah. So we got, like I said, some good feedback. So here's another interesting headline that caught my eye this week, again from Newsweek. Intruder caught wearing nothing but towel after showering in couple's home. Yeah, there we go.
Interesting.
So
okay.
This happened in Meadow Vista, California. And again, the quote is what really makes this for me. The gentleman who confronted said shower bandit was a guy named Steve Baker, and Baker's wife was apparently awake. He was asleep, and here's the quote: "She woke me up in a panicked way, said, 'Get the gun, there's somebody upstairs.' I grabbed the gun. I don't keep it loaded, but I can do it pretty darn quickly, and that's what I did. And to be quite honest, I walked out first, forgot my shorts, so my wife helped me with that." So there's the visual, right? That's the scene that
right.
I really want to see either reenacted or
right.
I can load it pretty darn quick,
yes.
And that's what I did. And to be quite honest, I walked out first, forgot my shorts, so my wife helped me with that. So this was potentially a 2-gun confrontation. It sounds like before the better half helped him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that makes this story for me is
yes.
the idea of the wife trying to help this guy get his shorts on
right.
while he is loading the gun to go up the stairs. Right? I mean, priorities.
And also, how does he think he's going to complete this mission successfully if he can't get his own shorts on?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm starting to wonder about this
if
guy.
he goes up sans shorts, is that more intimidating to the intruder or less?
Very true.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. So some would say the more shocking you present yourself, the
maybe
better it might work out.
So he heads upstairs, and apparently the guy was coming down the stairs wrapped only in a towel. He says, "I pointed the gun at him, said, 'Stop right there.' And what on earth are you thinking?" The suspect reportedly told Baker, quote, "I had to." Never in my life, I assure you, never in my life have I needed a shower that bad. Now, there have been times in my life when I really, really needed a shower. Okay, like desperately needed a shower. Did some work, in the summertime. Actually, I was for like a pest control company. Me and a couple other promising young men were sent out to houses that weren't exactly built up to code, and I had to crawl under the house and dig enough dirt out from under the house that the techs could get in and treat the house.
Okay.
Thankfully, I lived in the country, so by the time I got home, I was so filthy dirty. Like I would basically go around behind the house and pretty much strip down and try to hose off with a garden hose before I even went in to get in the shower. Like I was that dirty, right?
Right. Okay.
I desperately, I didn't need a shower this bad. Like this dude, he's like, hey, here's a house. Bet they got a bathroom. I'm going in.
Right. Right.
I can think, like, I actually paid to take a shower in a train station in Vienna, Austria one time. Marco, this is for you if you're listening down in Australia.
Gotta hear this one.
Yeah, backpacking through Europe, sleeping on overnight trains, and not in like the actual sleeper cars, where they have beds, like
Right.
in the cars where you're supposed to be seated the whole time, like
yeah.
sleeping overnight in those things. And you could kind of
Right.
pull the seats together and kind of stretch out a little bit, but so
Getting a little more of the, the regular people flavor.
yeah,
that way,
for
right?
sure. So, but the one time, like, we had been up doing this for several days and we're just absolutely exhausted. So we kind of, I forget how we did it. Basically, like paying to upgrade your ticket. So we got actually in a sleeper car. So it's tiny train car, 3 beds on each wall, basically, so like bunk beds.
The lap of luxury.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There were 3 of us, so we took up one wall. And then 2 other guys who were kind of like backpacking through Europe like we were, they came in, they had the other 2 beds. And we were like, oh, this is cool. And we talked with them for a little bit. And for a while, we thought that last bed was just unoccupied. And we were getting ready to, like, call it a night. And then the dude shows up for the last bed. And this guy could not have smelled worse if he had the goat with him on a leash, like bringing it into the room. Like, there aren't words for the stench that entered the room when this guy came in. Now, we can't open a window, right?
Of course, yeah.
It's a train. If you leave the door open, like trying to maybe ventilate this, you are likely going to get robbed. Okay, it happens, right? So now we close the door for the night, and we're all in an enclosed space, much smaller than about like the size of this right here. Overnight. The one night we paid to actually sleep in a bed.
Right.
By the time we got to Vienna the next morning, because it was overnight, we would take overnight trains because those were the really long rides so you could sleep, right? Mm-hmm. By the time we got to Vienna the next morning and got up and opened that door and got like, I told Marcus, like, I'm showering somewhere. Like, that's probably as close as I've ever been to this guy. Like, that other guy smelled so bad, I needed a shower that bad.
Right.
Like,
by osmosis, you were also that.
Yes, it was just funk
horrible,
by association.
Mm-hmm.
Just being in the same room with this guy. But I've never needed a shower this bad, like, to break into this guy's house. So
yeah, that's pretty extreme. I mean, they say desperate times call for desperate measures.
I guess so. I hope the guy ended up okay and found a shower, and God bless you.
Yeah. Did what he had to do.
Right. So this other news story I was going to bring up, it was actually sent to me, and I looked it up when they told me about it, and it's actually a couple of years old, so it's not exactly news. But I really wanted to just sort of use the headline to kind of illustrate a point. So here's the headline: Florida man arrested in jail parking lot minutes after being released. So this guy was just released from jail. He gets out in the parking lot and is like trying to break into cars in the jail parking lot.
Wait. In the jail parking lot?
In the parking lot of the jail. So then the cops just come out and like rearrest him and bring him back in the jail. Now, like I said, this is kind of an older story.
Easiest arrest ever.
Exactly. But what I appreciate about the headline is that it immediately starts out with Florida man. Okay.
Right.
That's TGIF for me. Thank God it's Florida, right? Because every time I read a story like this, my mind immediately is thinking, "Oh, please don't be from Arkansas. Please don't be from Arkansas. Please don't be from Arkansas." It's like, don't be, not my people. Okay.
Which tells you that deep down, your people are capable of such things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there was a dude got arrested in my hometown, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Police officer was getting off work, walked out, smelled something funny, just followed his nose to the house whose yard backs up to the police station, and the dude was cooking meth in his garage. Like, your house backs up to the police station. Like, yeah, nobody will notice. Yeah. So, yes, absolutely, this kind of thing happens in my home state. I
believe it.
So I appreciate this headline immediately announcing that it's Florida, because a lot of crazy stuff happens in Florida. Mm-hmm. Lots of fun stuff. There's just weird things happen down here in the South. I don't know if it's the heat. combined with the bourbon and maybe the crystal meth. I mean, there's a lot of that too.
There you go. There's something to that mixture that just brings out the crazy, it seems like.
So there's the hard news for this week.
Mm-hmm. Hard hitting stuff.
Guy found somebody trying to take a shower in his house. Actually, who had already showered in his house.
So here's what I want to do. I want to have I want to get all these people together. The bear hunter, this guy that needed a shower so bad. Like we've got to just get these people together and dig into the minds of these people. Yeah,
that would be a fun show for sure.
That sounds like a good round table right there.
All right, moving along. This week, the show is sponsored by Speaker City, where they are slashing prices on everything from cell phones to beepers to DVD players. I mean, Speaker City is actually an American success story because the guy that runs that thing,
absolutely.
I mean, he's built it from the ground up. He's worth like $2 million that the government knows about, and he can barely read. All you Vince Vaughn fans, there you go. Speaker City clearly has not sent me a T-shirt because I'm representing Led Zeppelin today. Led Zeppelin, or as they are referred to by the kids these days, Greta Van Fleet. Yes. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. I love these kids.
Bringing it back.
Yeah, I do. Like, look, my rule about music is all music, new music, is suspect for 20 years. Like, 20 years from now, if they're still playing it, people still think it's good, it's probably good. Okay, not to say that I don't enjoy some new music. I'm just saying it's suspect for at least 20 years. Okay.
Makes sense.
I'm also now old enough that some new music I like because they sound exactly like the old music that I like.
Exactly.
Case in point, Greta Van Fleet.
There you go.
First discovered them, I was in the gym. Contrary to appearance, I actually do work out. And normally in this gym, they play nothing but like brand new stuff, and I don't like any of it. And I was like walking, from point A to point B, and the song comes on, and I just stopped dead in my tracks. Like, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I thought I knew every Led Zeppelin song. Like, and what are they doing playing Zeppelin in here? And
this doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And another guy, roughly my age, kind of walking the other way, sees the same befuddled look on my face, and he looks at me with the same, we're both kind of doing the dog thing, like turning our heads. And I was like, is that Zeppelin? And he's like, yeah, that's what I thought. And we look up, and, there's these 4, like, 20-year-olds from Michigan on the screen. And I was like, who are these guys? This guy sounds more like Robert Plant than Robert Plant does anymore.
Right.
So, Greta Van Fleet, I mean, if you're going to steal from the best, right? I mean,
there you go. That's what Zeppelin did.
Yeah. I mean, everybody does. Right. Yeah, I mean, they're sounding, like I said, I'm old enough now, like I hear something new and it sounds like something old that I like, and that's why I like it.
Listen,
I mean, I think they're a great band. Another new band that I like because they sound like an old band that I like, Dirty Honey out of LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the lead singer is like,
that is
sounds like vintage Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses from the 88, 89, 90 when they first broke on the scene with Appetite for Destruction. I mean, some of the higher range and the gravel and everything, I mean, sounds so much like him. It's uncanny.
Yep.
They got a good guitar player, great drummer. They just sound like that late 80s, early 90s rock and roll that just kind of came up out of the sewers of LA and
exactly,
mercifully put a bullet in the head of hair metal and just ended all that. Like when Appetite came out, it's like, oh, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Like, people were not going back to their Poison and all that good stuff,
Yeah, exactly. So I like those guys too. So I mean, that's a couple of new bands that I like because they sound like old bands. But again,
bringing back the right kind of stuff.
Again, they're suspect for 20 years. 20 years from now, if there are people still playing Greta Van Fleet, I'm going to tell you, and that's good music. Like, I can tell you right now, I like it, but I'm not willing to say, oh, no, it's good.
It's still not Zeppelin level, not for 20 years.
I'll tell you, though, I mean, he throws in, that guitar player from Greta Van Fleet, he even throws in Jimmy Page licks and some of the solos that he does. And honestly, he plays them cleaner than Jimmy Page plays them, at least on the albums, on the Zeppelin albums. Like,
oh, without a doubt.
I mean, it's good.
Well, yeah, I mean, You know, Paige was a little busy when he was playing those things in concert.
Yeah, he had a few things going on. Yeah. Maybe just a little. So that's a couple of new bands that I like. Stan, any stuff out there that any new stuff that you like?
Well, it's a good question. There are a couple groups I've been getting into. There's one called the Revivalists. They are from New Orleans, and so they have kind of the jazzy kind of side to them.
Yeah.
And I went and saw them in concert, House of Blues, because that's my standard. You got to be able to deliver in concert.
Right, absolutely.
There's a lot of them out there that can't. And so I really liked them. I had a couple of the albums. I'm like, all right, it's time for this is the real test right now.
Mm-hmm.
And man, let me tell you, and I've seen a lot of shows. They're probably the best show I've ever seen.
Wow,
live.
that's
the best show. It was incredible. How the feeling you got was you're in some little bar on Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
And there's just a bunch of crazy drunkards around that are into it, maybe not just for the music, but just because it's cool to be there. It's just good vibes, you know?
Cool.
And but just the overall atmosphere was really cool, and they could deliver. They had the chops.
Nice. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah. They had.
Now, you've got your own band. You know, I play in a little trio, and you've actually sat in with us a couple of times.
Yep. Sure have.
So, like, what style? Like, when you guys are playing, or when you're writing or recording, like, what would you say, like, the genre or the style of music that your own band that you guys do?
So, we're kind of, I would say, late '90s, early 2000s alternative rock is kind of where we fit in. We're three '90s kids, so
right, yeah, it makes sense.
There's going to be a lot of grunge influence.
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of that. I mean, one of my favorites is Soundgarden.
Oh yeah, the first time I saw Guns N' Roses in concert back in '92 or '93 on the Use Your Illusion tour, ended up being kind of the final tour until the current sort of resurrection.
Right,
Soundgarden opened.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a show.
It was. Yeah.
Man.
And that was back when Guns N' Roses was really, really volatile. Like there had already been a couple of, I think at least one riot on the tour where they, like, somebody said something or irritated Axl and he jumped in the crowd and started a fight and then walked off the stage and then the crowd went crazy and trashed everything. So like, it's the most security I've ever seen at a concert, was that one. And I remember this, like, the promo for the show that I heard on, like, the local rock station. Mm-hmm. The little, like, fast talking disclaimer guy, you know, that's at the end of every commercial.
Right.
This one came on and said, due to the volatile nature of this band, we cannot guarantee a start or stop time for the concert. Please just plan on spending the night with Guns N' Roses. And I was like, I'm there. Yeah.
What better promo could you have, honestly?
Right.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, there were probably half a dozen fights in the crowd before the show even started, and you know, it was pretty tense actually until they actually showed up on stage, and then you could, like, okay, there is going to be a concert. But yeah, great show. But Soundgarden opened.
Very cool.
And did a tight set. I mean, did a really good set. Like they didn't come on till, like, I think 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Wow.
And Guns N' Roses came on somewhere around midnight or 1 in the morning, played for about 3 hours. Like,
wow.
It was ridiculous. I think I got home at 5 in the morning, had to get up and go to school the next day.
What a night, man.
Yeah, it was. You know, because I had a cool dad who let me do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to
I'm
cool
not
dads.
that. I'm not that cool, by the way. If my daughters are watching this, no.
Yeah.
All right.
Understandable.
So,
man.
Yeah, I'm actually
anyways,
looking. Yeah.
The most common kind of similar groups we get associated with are the Chili Peppers, classic '90s.
Yeah.
Weezer.
I like some Weezer stuff.
90s, yeah.
Yep.
And then some of the early 2000s bands like the Killers, Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
Some groups like that, which are approaching the 20-year mark, so we'll see.
Exactly. We'll see. Yeah, they may be good bands.
Yep, exactly. Jury's still out.
Yeah, exactly. But they're aging well, so there you go.
Yep.
All right. That brings us to the final segment of the day, where I talk about things that I find mildly irritating. And I got to say, I have sort of mixed feelings about this one, because I'm a Southerner. I was raised in a good Southern home, taught to be a gentleman, and do my best to be one. But I'm conflicted when I get on an airplane. Things are starting to open up a little bit more. People are traveling a little bit more. I travel for work. I don't travel near as much as some other people, so I'm not saying, on the be-all, end-all on this, but I travel a little bit for work. And I am just about this close to declaring airline and airplanes just a chivalry-free zone. When
Chivalry-free.
Yeah, and it's because, like, I'm not claustrophobic, but I do have kind of a phobia about, like, being pressed upon by people, like being crowded in by people. So,
right.
Like, the people that handle my travel know, like, aisle seat only, right? Mm-hmm. You put me in the middle, it's not going to end well. It's just not. I don't care how short the flight is. So the worst part for me of flying is the boarding process. Because I usually get on in, like, group 3 or 4, because I've got some status,
Big roller here.
Row, definitely. Yeah. So I usually get on in one of the first few groups, and then I have to sit there while everybody else gets on the plane. Right. And so the worst part for me is having that aisle seat is all these people, because the line inevitably stops and somebody's just right there on my shoulder, and there's nowhere for me to go, and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay. So when I talk about, like, the chivalry-free zone, during that boarding process, it never fails. I will see about a 90-pound woman with a bag that probably weighs twice as much as she does get to her seat and just stop and kind of wait for somebody to come pick up her bag and put it in the overhead for her. Yep. Right? Now, again, this is where, like, the Southerner in me, like, I know I have to do this. Like, it's the right thing to do. Sure. Okay. But then there's the sort of misanthrope in me that's like, you packed that bag. You know how much it weighed. You probably couldn't even get it in your car. Like, right. And you expect somebody else to just, pick it up and put it in the overhead for you. Like, what was your plan if you got to your seat and everybody within 3 rows of you was another 90 to 100-pound woman? Like, what if there's a Cincy convention going on, right? Or,
right.
What's the other multi-level marketing pyramid scheme that everybody else is? Essential oils.
Yeah.
Exactly. What if it was an essential oils? Yay, I made gold, platinum, diamond, whatever. I'm going to Florida with my girlfriends. Yep. How are y'all going to get these bags in the overhead? Yeah.
Like, and they're going to be heavy with all those oils, too.
Of course, and inevitably, like I said, the 90-pound woman with the suitcase, the carry-on, that weighs at least 500 pounds. Like, it's like, what are you, smuggling gold bars in here or something? Like, And so then, okay, I get up, I help. Yep. And I appreciate if she at least tries, like, acts like she's making the effort, while I know she's expecting somebody else to do it. But
sure,
the effort I appreciate.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just kind of,
though.
Yeah. I mean, so like I said, I don't think I can officially ever bring myself to say, know what, you're on your own. Airplanes are chivalry-free zones. But man, there's a part of me that sure would like to. And because the other thing, again, about the whole boarding process, that's the hardest part for me. The flight is not a problem. But how do we still, we're living in a society, right? Yeah. How do we still, as a society, not know how to get on an airplane? This baffles me every time, and it happens every time. I mean, this is not like hyperbolic me saying every time I get on a plane. Literally every flight I'm on, somebody cannot figure out which seat they're supposed to be in.
Right.
And I'm looking at them like, it's numbers and letters, man.
Pretty basic.
I mean, if you got out of kindergarten, you ought to be able to do this. It's not even all the numbers and letters.
Right.
Right. It's probably, ABC on one aisle, DEF on the other. Like, count up to your row. I don't get it, how anybody ever ends up in the wrong seat on an airplane.
Seems very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got the folks that are in, like, the very last boarding group.
Right.
who inevitably get on the plane looking like a Sherpa about to approach the peak of Everest. They've got so much stuff they're trying to get on this plane. It's like, and they're shocked that there's no room in the overhead bins.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the last freaking boarding group. And what were you thinking? They've been telling us for at least an hour out here in the gate. Like, yeah, it's a full flight. Overhead bins. Might want to check something.
And you knew you were in the last group.
Nah, there'll be room. Yeah. So then they go all the way to the very back end of the plane looking for a spot, cannot find one. So then they got to come all the way back up to the front of the plane to give the bag to be checked.
Right.
Which they could have done an hour and a half ago when everybody was telling you if you're in one of the last boarding groups, there's not likely going to be, room in the overhead bins. And look, I get it. You don't want to check it. I get it. I mean, it adds time to your trip. I get it. But, I mean, let's deal with reality here. Like, you're in the last group. The overhead bins are going to be full, and they're going to end up gate checking it anyway.
It's inevitable.
So, I mean, just do us all a favor. We could easily have taken off like a half hour ago. By the time all of this stuff is going on.
Well, it's funny too because I've noticed some of those situations where you can tell the flight attendants are trying to just act like, oh, things are okay and we'll find a spot. We'll find a spot up here for you, and you're just like looking at your watch and they're going up and down, asking people, can you move this or that, and you're holding everyone up.
Exactly.
Right?
Look, I appreciate being polite and being courteous as much as the next guy. You're not doing anybody any favors by not telling these people the truth.
Exactly.
Okay? And sometimes the truth hurts.
Right.
All right? Look, dude, you knew. You're in group 9. You're SOL when it comes to overhead cabin space. It's just how it is. Sorry, but check the bag, or let them gate check it. Okay, then, so that's one other thing that I've sort of been noticing again since I'm traveling a little more now is when I'm in the airport, at the gate or so, you're waiting to board the flight, is there's a couple of kind of undeniable truths in life that airports demonstrate every time I'm in. I mean, there's great people watching in airports. I don't like being, having like a 4-hour layover or anything like that, but if I got to wait an hour, so that's not a big deal.
Sure.
One thing that you'll notice in airports a lot is there are about 3 things in life that tell the truth unmercifully. Okay. Little kids, drunks, and yoga pants. Okay, they tell the truth. All right, unmercifully.
The ugly truth. Sometimes.
All right. I forget where I heard that the first time. Might have been a meme. But it is the truth. Okay, children, drunks, and yoga pants. There's no hiding the truth, right? They're unmerciful. All right, not shaming anybody. I'm just saying
it's a fact.
Yep, I'm sure they're comfortable. I wouldn't know because I have a Y chromosome, which prevents me from putting yoga pants on. But just saying, the other undeniable truth in life is that some clothing is a privilege, not a right. Okay. Clothing manufacturers and sellers are out to make a buck. They will sell you anything. Okay. But just because it exists in your size does not necessarily make it a good idea for you to purchase and wear it. Okay. Right. And again, not trying to shame anybody. Look, what bugs me is how can a culture that is so self-obsessed still lack self-awareness?
That's a good point. Right.
Like, look, I wear T-shirts in here because it's hot in here. Okay, it's always hot in here, right? I don't almost never wear a short sleeve shirt to the office, even as hot as it is outside. One, because no matter how hot it is outside, it is typically freezing in our office.
Right.
But 2, I'm self-aware enough to know that I have arms that look like spaghetti noodles, right? And so short sleeve shirt, not a great look for me. All right.
Right. Right.
I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. Have some self-awareness. Sure. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
And you're right. Yeah. For a society as self-focused as we are, you'd think that would come a little more naturally, but somehow.
Yeah. Somewhere the self-obsession / narcissism just sort of crowds out the self-awareness. Yeah. That's my theory. because I got one. I always do.
Right.
All right. I think we've done enough damage for today. I want to thank Stan the Man, Weston, everybody at JPK Network. Come back next week, and we will be with you again. It's the Snarky Parenthetical on the JPK Network. I'm sure they love that plug. Thank you.
There you go.